New questlines, new henchmen, operatic wailing, Pyros on the prowl, and some OP earplugs. Evil Genius 2's Rise of the Valkyries DLC and a free TF2 content drop are available now, and gosh, we've got a lot to talk about. Do, re, mi, fa, so. Honestly, I wish you would not just sneak into these videos like that. How many of you Evil Genius fans ever heard of knocking? As it happens, I was just working through a few limbering up exercises in preparation for Doomhilda's arrival. Being a crime lord / henchman and all, she's kind of a big deal around here, and the Rise of the Valkyries DLC pack plots her journey from stage-addicted warbler to right-hand soprano of your own evil empire. So in this video, we'll introduce her and give you a quick guide through her questline. So spoiler alert for anyone who wants their encounter to remain a complete surprise, and with that legal obligation fulfilled, let's move on and mention that there's also free stuff of a Team Fortress 2 flavour, accessible to everybody, available right now as well. Hooray for new stuff! If you're constantly scribbling devilish machinations onto restaurant napkins, consider subscribing to us here on the channel and turning on notifications so you get all the intel as soon as we upload it. And ready your thumbs up button if you enjoyed this vid. Now, let's raise the curtain on Doomhilda.
I'll finally have the power to crush them once and for all.
Here's how to get started with Doomhilda's questline. Evil Genius 2 now lets you select the DLC you'd like enabled in your save game, so you don't need to start a new game for Rise of the Valkyries. If you pass the first few side stories in your game, you've got a henchman and the basic specialist minion types unlocked, you should see a side story called the Barrage of Figaro, with this icon on the top corner letting you know it corresponds to the Rise of the Valkyries DLC. Once you start it, you'll be introduced to Doomhilda, or plain old Brunhilda as she first appears, and her powerful pipes. Steel yourself against that vibrato, friends. Legend has it, it can shake a mercenary out of their top bunk and onto the cold barracks floor tiling. If you're having difficulty getting that Barrage of Figaro questline to appear, beginning a new campaign should solve any issues, and it gives you an opportunity to try a new genius, island, or playstyle while you give Doomhilda a whirl too. Fans of the Sniper Elite series will be familiar with the Empty Lung ability, in which the sniper enters a state of intense concentration while exhaling and shoots with incredible precision, ultimately bursting people's heads open. Well, operatic powerhouse Brunhilda possesses a similar ability. I mean, no scopes or anything, but she can inflict widespread damage whenever she expels air from her lungs. And when your morally questionable operation raids an opera on the world stage, you attract her ire. That's a bad thing. Since you're now on her list of things and people to smite, your team gets to work developing the world's best set of earplugs. An innovation that I could have done with when I lived in that flat next to a neighbour who seemed adamant that both hoovering and laundry should be done exclusively after 11 PM. Thing is though, these earplugs work a bit too well. Yes, they block out any of Brunhilda's potentially violent vibrato, but they also block out literally everything else, including your own genius's orders.
What?
No. This won't do.
We must not avoid music. We must immunize ourselves to its power.
It's back to the drawing board then. Instead of blocking out her song, your minions simply need to become immune to the effects of music, an endeavour which is achieved by staging your very own Montanas Gemelis Got Talent in the casino. I actually quite like this song in fast forward mode. So, having listened to a few hours of that, everyone in your lair feels galvanised against Brunhilda's pipes. Which is just as well, because here she comes now, in my actual base. Oh good. Just casually strolling around, as if this place doesn't have a strict, morally bankrupt jumpsuit serfs and gullible gamblers only policy. This first fight against Brunhilda isn't so tough, particularly if you've got mercenaries armed with ranged weapons. However, Jubei didn't deal with her so well in my own playthrough and found his own melee attacks no match for her close range heft. I reckon Espectro packed a bigger punch in the Cabal pack's first fight, but this one still might require a bit more tactical forethought than sending in one melee henchman. Still, we did get her down eventually. Job done. Problem solved. Quest over. Or is it? No, I mean, obviously not. Instead, the seething songstress undergoes something of a personal brand relaunch, changing her name to the catchier Doomhilda.
No, not Brunhilda. It's Doom! Doomhilda now.
Which also nicely encapsulates her wrath at your raiding of the opera and kidnapping of the singers from the world stage to develop a resistance against her tones. And ego on this one, the fact that you didn't fight her personally, but instead sent your lackeys. You may need to tick off a few side stories or progress your main campaign before Doomhilda's next questline, A Little Flight Music, appears. Once it does, you'll learn of her comeback plan. She's going to compete in Global Sound, which seems to be some kind of Eurovision song contest for crime lords, where dastardly crooners from across the globe are eligible to compete. And if she wins, well, that'll be egg right on your face. So obviously, that can't happen. The problem is, she's holding the Global Sound competition in her host region, so the odds are very much stacked in her favour. Next then, you will need to sabotage the whole thing and make sure she doesn't win. This part of the questline takes place on the world stage and has you hunting down Doomhilda-shaped icons and spending your personnel resources to, presumably, infiltrate judges' panels of the world and convince them that your own entrant, which you pick from a choice of 4 on the world map, is the superior, creative, artistic, and musical endeavour. And I don't know if you heard what we had going on back at the casino earlier, but we know our music here. Once you've deployed enough saboteurs into the field, the competition is successfully rigged.
Task complete.
And a woman who really only wanted to star in an opera in peace now has her life ruined by your callous meddling. Well done.
Too bad, Doomhilda. You lost fair and square.
She's understandably pretty upset with you by now, so get ready for a second fight with her in your lair, this time joined by a bunch of goons. This one's definitely tougher than the first, but I got lucky by heading her off in the doorway and surrounding her with my own muscle. At this point, there's not much left for her to do but just join you. So she does, and her first job is to settle a debt that your genius doesn't really feel like repaying. Which of course in turn leads to the original creditors trying to take back their assets right from your lair. If you want to stop the Rhine burglar, you'll need decent defences. And the best defence is a good offence, as football coaches who skim read coaching 101 on their way out of the door would say. And so, Doomhilda joins your elite force of people who can somehow sleep at night despite their daily wrongdoings. Huzzah! I think she adds a touch of much needed class to the lair. Houseplants will only get you so far in that regard. Last but certainly not least, the free stuff. Everybody gets a pyro. You get a pyro. You get a pyro. You get a pyro. Now available as a henchman in Evil Genius 2, Team Fortress 2's Pyro can finally enjoy the feeling of people actually being pleased to see him. After all, in a round of Gold Rush, catching a glimpse of the masked mumbler is a bit like looking down to see the plug you're about to stand on. But not so here. He can set things on fire, and with a whoosh of his flamethrower's gas canister, he can put things out too. What a versatile chap. The Pyro also proudly guards some of the new TF2 inspired loot items. The briefcase of intelligence. How many hours have I spent running that back and forth? A briefcase of purest, finest Australium, and one payload. Careful around that one. Don't lean on it. Right, while I go off and make a sandwich, why don't you hit that like button if you found this useful and tell us who'd win in a fight between Doomhilda and the Pyro down in the comments. You can subscribe to us to take the effort out of finding our content, and if you do, we'll all do a dance. The dance won't be filmed or recorded in any way, you'll just have the knowledge that it took place. Anyway, the sandwich. See you in another one.